Welcome to Ashkelon, a glimpse at the Philistine era in Israel. Ashkelon is located on the Mediterranean coast of Israel between Tel Aviv in the north and Gaza in the south. Its location made it a strategic choke point in ancient times because it was on a major highway that went along the coast called the Way of the Sea, also called the Great Trunk Road. This route connected Mesopotamia to Egypt, entering Israel just north of the Sea of Galilee from Damascus, and running through Megiddo and Ashdod, where it merged with the coast road and continued down to the coast to Gaza and on to Egypt. Remember this road, it's going to be important later on. Because of its key position on this major road, Ashkelon was controlled at different points in history by almost everyone. The Canaanites, Philistines, Persians, Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Muslims, Crusaders, and we also know the Egyptians from the Merneptah stele, and the Assyrians and Babylonians from the Bible. It was pretty highly contested in ancient times. While staying at Ashkelon, we visited the Ashkelon National Park and got to see some of the incredible excavation work that has gone on there at this historical site. One of the most prominent features at the Ashkelon Park is its gate, which is one of the oldest gates in existence. The other one is at Dan, way up north, which we'll see later on.
So let's go down, look at the gate.
Yeah, let's go this way.
This ancient gate dates back to around 1850 BC and has been partially reconstructed, but some of the remnants of the mud bricks are still intact today.
Something remarkable. Well, the city's been, we're walking on a tell. Okay. So it's a number of layers, right? Okay. Strata, one on top of the other. And the destruction could either be man-made, right, a conquest, okay, or
The dimensions of this gate are 6.5 feet wide, 13 feet high, and 49 feet through the gate, which tells you how wide the walls would have been. It is protected from the elements by a nice covering and open to the public to walk through to get to the top of the tell and experience the area of ancient Ashkelon. Now, I just mentioned a tell. What is a tell? It is an artificial man-made hill that over time has covered the ruins of one or more ancient civilizations. There are three things that every ancient tell had in common. Number one, a source of water. Let's face it, in the Middle East, water is essential for life. Number two, access to roads for transportation. Remember the Way of the Sea I just mentioned. And then three, a strategic military position for defense. Cities along important trade routes were prime targets since conquering them ensured control over the surrounding area and served the commercial interests of the invaders. For this reason, cities such as Ashkelon and Megiddo changed hands constantly until they were finally evacuated for the last time, never to be inhabited again. Today, they remain as an outspoken testimony to the accuracy of the biblical account for everyone to see. The tell would eventually become buried either because of military conquest or natural causes, such as wind or earthquakes. Since most of these cities were on hills to give them a military advantage, They would become overgrown and covered with dust and earth until they were entirely concealed, and all that remained was a hill. There are over 200 tells scattered throughout tiny Israel, and many of these have yet to be uncovered. In excavating these tells, archaeologists often take a slice out of the hill to reveal the layers of occupation, kind of like cutting a slice out of an onion to see all the layers inside. The result is a site with surviving remnants and artifacts from multiple civilizations at different times in history. Speaking of those ruins, there are other ruins here, of course, from different time periods and different civilizations, but we were most interested in the era of Philistine control, which the gate predates by a few centuries. This was one of the 5 Philistine crown cities, along with the ancient cities of Gaza, Ashdod, Gath, and Ekron. And we know that Samson spent some of his time here in this very area. It is here that he slew 30 Philistines in Judges 14:19. He was eventually captured and imprisoned at Gaza. One of the most amazing aspects of Israel is the profound contrast. As our guide said, in Israel you see a collision between the modern and ancient, and the sacred and holy are right next to the mundane and even the profane. Here at Ashkelon, we see the ancient gate right next to modern skyscrapers and one of the largest desalination water plants. You have conserved tatters right next to cutting-edge technology. Preservation in the foreground next to innovation in the background. History has been playing out on this tell for thousands of years. This was the territory of the dreaded Philistines, the crossroads of an ancient spice route, and now the new home to a startup city on the coast of the Mediterranean. And it's also the target of terror coming out of Gaza, the region named after the old Philistine city.
To our left is Egypt, and to our right is north, and all the way up to what a beautiful morning.
The names given to Israel by their captors over the years have an interesting history and etymology. For example, Syria Palestina was given to Israel probably by Emperor Hadrian. And the second part of the name, Palestina, comes from Philistia. And the name Palestine, as it is called today, was also an attempt to strip the Jews of their homeland by naming it in honor of their ancient enemies, the Philistines. Unpacked did an entire episode to cover the meaning behind these names. And while they're not coming from a Christian but a Jewish perspective, they do know their history. What is clear is that the Philistines are long gone and Israel is still here. And they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Because of the blessing of God, Israel has and will outlive all their enemies, including Hamas, just south of Ashkelon in the modern Gaza region of Israel. This spot is another testimony that God fights for Israel, and we should pray for their safety. Brochures with pricing are available online, with some other helpful information and pricing for if you want to go by yourself. Other things to see here are the rampart, medieval walls, and other Roman ruins such as the Basilica and the Antilia Wells. You can even camp at this park. Details for that are available online at the Israel Nature and Parks Authority website. This is a view of the Mediterranean Sea from modern Ashkelon. Our hotel was within walking distance of the Mediterranean Sea, so we got to go down there for a sunset one of the nights that we were there, and it was pretty spectacular. We got to walk down on this rocky pier out in the sea and watch the sunset from there. It was so nice and the water felt good to step in. And a little bit more than your feet might get wet if it's windy or if the waves get big. You can just tell by looking at that rock straight ahead. And this is a time lapse of the last morning we were there. Simply beautiful. Remember to pray for this place.